All right, guys, they're blasting us off. It is day number 1 of the Bassmaster EQ series on Lake Champlain. I'm excited to go fishing, man. Lake Champlain is so much fun, and I just want to enjoy myself today. It's going to be a little bumpy. You're going to see it as my camera records me trying to catch giant smallmouth and big waves, and it's going to be very interesting landing them. I love fighting smallmouth. These fish are crazy, so keep an eye out for big giant jumps and a lot of wild stuff. It's going to be a good day.
You know, taking off for day 1 of the Lake Champlain Bassmaster EQ, I was pumped to get out there, but the weather was different than we'd had in practice. We had almost 0 wind all of practice, and of course, tournament morning, it is rolling as soon as you get out past the jetty, and I was just trying not to tear my boat up. You can see right here as I got out into the middle of the lake that it was getting nasty. And I mean, I'm going like 25 miles per hour here. And watch right here carefully, you'll see my graph up on the front. My bolts actually got ripped out of the fiberglass where my beat down mount was connected.
Okay, well that was interesting. My junk broke. Busted out the bolts from that run. I tried to take it easy. Obviously it didn't work.
So I started on this little stretch of main lake bank, and I was fishing, you know, close to the shoreline, but I was in like 25 to 35 feet of water. And I found that there were a lot of fish that had pushed up into that, you know, kind of relatively shallower water from where a lot of them were during the day. And immediately I got up there and started seeing some bass floating around and some glued right to the bottom that I just had to tease up with the minnow and also with a drop shot.
That is a tiny one, but I really don't know why I'm actually I'm not looking why. It's a 3-pounder just going in the well. 3-pounders get to go for a little ride for a while. Smoking the drop shot. So we've got some a little bit bigger head shields. It's just so hard to tell. You literally have no clue if it's a 3+ or a 4. If it's a 4.5, you don't want to rush it. If it's a 3, you don't really care. then one that's the same length as a 3.5 would be a 4. So many of these guys. So many. Pretty small mouth. 3.5, maybe a little better. See, that's a 384. That's a little more like it, you know. He ate it funny. Yeah, he's kind of lazy. Probably lazy. Mid-3. Maybe he doesn't know he's hooked. That one. That's a nice one. They want the drop shot bad. Normally everyone's throwing a minnow and you can take a drop shot away from it. It's just something a little different. So, here's another mid-3, a little over 355. Just floating out there. Came right up to it and went coop.
So the goal really was to just spend as much time as possible on the trolling motor, flying around as pretty fast, like going 2 or 3 miles per hour on the trolling motor, hunting for fish to catch.
They're highfalutin, I'm telling you. Whatever highfalutin means, he's smallmouth or that. He's not that big. Dang it. Bleeding like a stuck hog.
So knowing that I wasn't going to be able to run around hard because I had to strap my graph mount down every time I ran, I just decided to stay close, catch a limit, and I think my first 5 fish weighed like 17 pounds that I actually put in the box. And that was a good way to start, but I knew that 17 pounds was not going to do anything on Lake Champlain this time of year.
Number 5. Should give me maybe 18. A lot of culling to do. I'll stop. Don't hurt yourself, buddy. Come on. No, you're not a 344. 3 1/4. at the surface, but every once in a while you'll catch one that's going up to look at bait, and they're normally hungry. This one's so strong. Yeah, that's gotta be good.
So with 18 pounds in the boat by mid-morning, I decided to make a run to the inland sea. And I ran over there, and in practice, I had spent a lot of time in there just after what I had heard from research and videos and things like that. And I got in there, and see, this is ironic going through the gut. Something I've been watching my whole life, and now I got to experience it, which is really cool. And when I got over there, the waves were pretty darn nasty. It was rolling. You can't see it right here in the gap in the gut, but when you got into the inland sea, it was bad. But I had an area that had a lot of nice quality fish in it. I had set the hook twice there in practice, and they were both 4+ pounders. So I felt like it was worth the risk. And unfortunately, when I got there, it was absolutely rolling through the area. But I knew that I could settle down, drop my power poles in the water so they would drag, and start fishing. Fishing tournaments is such a weird thing, how you can go into an area and practice and get big bites, and you go there during the tournament and there's nothing but small ones. But that was the case for the inland sea both days of the tournament. It's really weird how that happened. But I had also a little dock stretch where I caught one close to 4 pounds and shook off a few nice bites. So of course you roll in there feeling kind of confident that it's going to happen, and you get 0 bites on the same docks that you had bites on in practice. That's just part of tournament fishing, and you can't let that stuff get you down. You just got to keep on moving and keep on hunting for the next opportunity. So at this point, it started getting warm. I was ready to get comfortable, get my rain gear off finally, which was nice to be this cool in September. Of course, it was such a blessing to have that weather, but it was time to get comfortable, get my wet socks off because my feet had been soaked from the inland sea, and to start firing at some fish. And this was an area where it was the leading edge of a big flat. So the current would come into this big giant flat out on the main lake. So I was out of the inland sea now, and there was fish that were eating perch out there. So there were these huge groups of perch that would roam, and when you'd find them, you could actually see the bass that were roaming around those perch and make some good casts and catch them. This right here was probably one of my favorite fish catches of the week because I caught that 3 1/4 pounder that didn't help me, but there was a group of like 4 or 5 of them, and I immediately hunted them back down like 120 feet away from the boat, got another cast on them, and caught a good quality fish.
Really fat one there. That one's gonna make the team. Yes, he's almost a 4 pounder. I gotta get this thing to stop flopping. $388. That's a big upgrade. That's a good couple. That's a 3 1/4 for a 3 3/4. $340. No coat.
Once you had a limit of 3 1/2 to 4 pounders, you had to weed through a lot of them, and I had to kind of stay on my toes and keep moving and hunting for another good opportunity. I knew if I kept my head down and kept searching, I would run into the right quality, which 4 pounds was the right quality to get paid. And obviously, if you got a couple bigger than that, you had a really good day.
Right under the surface, eating tiny minnows. That's crazy. Big old golden brown. Gosh, there's bees everywhere. Finally, another one over 4. Number 1 is gone. 19 1/2.
Unfortunately, that was the last quality bite I got all day long, and with 2 hours left, and I ended up with 19 1/2 pounds, which put me in 51st place out of 105 boats.